last cut.
For the coach. K-Mo Cuts is
All
in the
right, all right, all right.
building.
Now we getting into this thing fairly quickly with the line. The reason for that is because like my client has like a bulky front hairline. Like his hair, even when he was a kid, used to kind of grow in a mohawk. So it's like I just wanted to kick it off with a line because it's really light in the corners. And so by me getting the line going as I prepare my canvas, I say canvas because, this is kind of like an art thing. Uh, you know, I know the shape that I want his hair to be in, and I want to try to get his line going so that I can fade everything into looking how I need it to look. So the best thing to do is kind of box that in and get that going. It doesn't have to be perfect, but what we're doing is just getting a little foundation going. Right there, we doing something a little unconventional. I did that just because I wanted to kind of get that bulkiness down right there, and that's like a backwards rake. You can do that with the trimmers and kind of get like how you can kind of ghost ride across the waves and whatnot. So it's kind of the same thing. Uh, right now, I'm raking with a pair of Kimmys. I like those because the blades are kind of thick and they just kind of just go straight through, mow through hair on a even on the rake, and they're smooth, so it doesn't like pull the hair and stuff like that. Sometimes when you use that method, if you go too fast, it will pull the hair. Well, always does. But that's not what that process is about. You just kind of want to be smooth with it and let the hair kind of just fall off. Let the clipper do the work. And by doing that technique, you'll get the hair down to a desired length, which is more like an eighth against the grain, or 16th with the grain. But right now, what I'm doing is just sharpening things up. I'm starting to put the part in. When you put in your part, you just kind of want to make sure you put it in a clear spot. A lot of times, when you put the part in the wrong spot, it just messes up the whole thing. And remember, when you're putting in a part, there's always two parts to every line, and that's the top part of the line and the bottom. You got to line both of them. Right now, what we're doing is just starting to put together a shape. Like these type of designs where you put the actual I guess your stencil in or whatever you want to call it, like your first line that you're kind of putting your art into. It doesn't have to be perfect when you get started. Whatever you're trying to accomplish, just kind of see it in your eyes and get like a little bit of a sketch going. Once your sketch is in there, you can always go back and define it, and that's what you'll see what I'm doing right now. I'm just getting some type of sketch going. Sometimes my sketches end up being exactly like I want them to be, but the thing is that when it comes to these designs and different things, you want to have weight in different areas. And what I mean by that is like when you see somebody write calligraphy, they go from really, really skinny to thick, to skinny to thick, skinny to thick. So when you have some contrast like that within your lines, it helps to bring out the design. Like a lot of times when you see people that can't really do designs or say they can't do designs, it's like they're drawing a stick figure, and it's like, I see your stick figure, but you want to have like some bulkiness in spots and then go skinny and make it flow. And as you create your own flow, you create your art, and then you really start to see what you're capable of. But it's a formula that's being used, and a lot of people that use calligraphy and things like that, they understand it quite well. So it's kind of the same concept, but it's like applying the concept to your art and your style. Doesn't have to be perfect. Right now, I'm just kind of going at it. What I like to do is like I say, put the sketch in and then develop it. So right now I'm just developing my design, and what I'm trying to do is I'm weighing all the pros and the cons of where his hair is dark at, where his hair isn't as dark at, where I'm gonna fade it at, and all of that. This particular style that I'm doing, you put in the part where you put the line on there. So we're putting in the line right now, which is our little design, and then we'll follow it up by going underneath the bottom, and it'll bring it out more at a 3D. It won't be a 3D design, but what it will do is it'll be more dimensional. It'll come out of the hair a little bit. So as you can see, like this client right here, he moves and things, and he's a kid, so he does things that kids do. He even got to the point where at a point he just kind of like moved his head towards the Clippers, and he does stuff like that when he gets frustrated or whatever the case might be. So, you know, you just kind of never know what's going to happen or how it's going to happen. Nevertheless, you got to stay focused, because sometimes, like, when you are cutting hair, some of the times, like, things happen, and they happen organically, and you might think you were getting ready to make a mistake, and it ends up turning out that it was the right move when it comes to designs. So the main thing with designs is making sure that you got some type of system. For me, like I say, it's very important for all my lines to be very detailed, and for them to all kind of line up with each other and flow, just like you would with lettering, block lettering, and things like that. So it's about making sure that each line is as straight as possible, each line is as curved as it's supposed to be, and the flow is there, and taking advantage of the hair that's available. Like with his hair, because he has some light spots and things, you know, I have to do what's best for his hair. It's not about, you know, what I think design I want to do sometimes. It's about what's going to fit best. So right here, what we're doing is knocking out the bottom part. So basically what you do is you trace around what you're doing, somewhat in a 3D. You can do 3D if you want to get fancy, but it's a lot of detail to 3D that you got to understand, and you know, you'll figure that out if you try it. It's not as easy as it looks. But with this, by contrasting the size of the lines, it gives a 3D look and makes it more dimensional, but it's not 3D per se. But do those things intentionally to give my haircut flavor, my own individual flavor. So, you know, try whatever you like, and, you know, whatever you like and whatever you don't like, don't do it. You know, designs are very, very much about style and what you do and don't do. There are parts of this design, like, you know, the customary way that you would do this design is to kind of do the whole thing, like trace around the entire part. So even over the top where it comes to the front of his head, I would trace around that, and that would bring a look. But by me not doing everything like that, I came with a look that has its own individual look. So that's what I'm saying about picking and choosing what you want to add and don't want to add. It's all about just having a formula. Once you have a formula that you follow and a way that you like to make your haircuts look, you just start to develop your own style as you bend and break rules. Sometimes you end up breaking rules to come up with the new style. I mean, I'm quite sure this look right here, it's called the South of France. I don't know if Usher was the first one or who, but probably came from somebody bending the rules and breaking it and saying, you know what, I'm gonna fade on the side of the head all the way, the whole side. And then we got a style that we came up with. So right here, fade. I started with a 16th, I believe, underneath the bottom. I wanted it to drastically go from dark to light so that the dark part stands out more. Then I followed up with the blade. As I get lower, I will close the blade more and more. That's my typical way to fade. So that's what I do just about every time I fade. Makes it real simple. As you can see, I kind of just breeze through that. And as I decided that I was going to bring it up a little bit more, so it's faded in there, but you can't really see that it's faded. But when I bring the razor out, it's going to define it and bring it all out again. So that's what I say. You know, it's very important for you to understand how the hair works. Like right here, I really created 3 different colors. The color of the skin now is a part of the haircut. Then you got the dark hair, the longest hair, and now you have the light hair that's almost bald, but it's faded. That adds dimension to your haircuts. So having 3 different hair colors or 3 different things really is like I'm coloring with 3 different crayons, you know, in a sense. It's like it's adding to my art. If I just color with 1 crayon, then, you know, it looks good. It can look good. There's some things you can do with 1 crayon. But I'm just saying, when you're able to add these other elements, look what it does. So that's what I say. It's a thinking. It's a method behind all of the madness. My suggestion is to study art. Study some things like calligraphy. Like, just look it up, research it, try it. It's harder than it looks. Sometimes easier than it looks. Try some things.
But when you try different things within art, I think it really sharpens your barber skills, because like doing designs is kind of like doing the opposite of drawing, because you're taking the lines away. But in the same sense, it's almost the same. So it's really this different thing. And so, like I say, the more different you are, the more individuality you add to your haircuts. I think that's what separates and creates greatness. So, keep pushing the envelope, barbers, and keep trying things. As you can see right here, what I'm doing is just basically defining the lines. Now, I thickened them up in the tracing of it, because when you trace something and you thicken the lines up, it makes it stand out. So once again, I'm creating more dimension because I have different types of lines and I have different sizes of lines. By doing that, you see that it does give it some, it gives it some pow, some it. And so, doing everything the same it gets boring, repetitious, and very stick figure like, and it's not really appeasing. So that's how that works. I like to use these Andis right here to complete fades a lot because they blend so well. Andis just makes the best blending liners, and they also can cut down longer hair easier. Like right here where I'm cutting at, that trimmer just does a wonderful job of getting up in there. Those are some iCut Pros. They're modified. They get up in there well. And like I say, they really get the lines bald and they fade pretty well. Just to get the little bald line out and stuff like that. I just love them for that, completing a fade. It's so much detail, and so is the Andis Master. There's just so much detail in Andis. I must admit. Big fan of Andis clippers. Right here, I'm just tightening up the line, getting everything together. In a moment, I'm gonna style it. And then right here, I'm coming with the fade. The fade will come together so quickly because once you understand, you get the bald, you get that little curve line in there, and then you just start to go to work. Once you got a pair of clippers that are very well zero gapped and stuff, you see what I'm doing? I'm just flicking through it because I already know all my guards and all my blades will fade right into each other. So within that, I don't have to worry about whether or not the fade is going to come. If I use my system and I go from blade to guards, then automatically I already know, because I've set my blades right, it's going to fade in. So that's what I'm doing. And I'll take, and do a little clipper over comb to get the shape right and do some shear work. But with the fade, it's magical. It just happens that fast. So a lot of you guys are struggling on fades. Take a look at your clippers. See if your clippers are really zero gap like they're supposed to be. One, because if they're not zero gapped right, you're gonna cut people and stuff like that, and that's not right. And then if they're crooked in any way, shape, or form, that affects the way your cut comes out. It definitely affects it. So making sure that your tools are very nicely tuned is so pivotal in good haircuts. So pivotal. I think it's one of the most underrated aspects of barbering is tool work. What do your tools cut like? How well are they put together? Right here, as you can see, we're just putting a little line in, completing the back line, and as you want to make sure you kind of bring it on around that edge so you can get that fade to show off. You want it in a circular thing. I'm using some, they're called mags. They're wall mags. And they're a really good clipper, trimmer, I should say, for balding out and things like that. So if you're looking for a clipper to bald out with, they are pretty good. I will say that. And they're cordless, so it's like the sky's the limit with that sometimes. When you get that cordless trimmer, it just feels like cutting on air. So right here, I'm just, like I say, I'm completing the haircut. A lot of times in new haircut styles and stuff, people aren't really putting the effort into connecting the hair. And to me, I think it's very important because I know the undercut is a style and It does what it does, and it's the way that it is, and it's a good style, I will admit. But my whole thing is that I'm an old school barber to the point where it's like it's always had to flow for us. Like you couldn't just put a taper on there and it didn't flow into the back of the hair. Like, what is that? That just looks choppy. And so it's a style now, I guess, but I still like my stuff to flow. What we doing right here is I looked at the design and I realized that if I just faded out in that back spot, it would make it stand out and sit in its own spot and really complete the design to me. So I went ahead and I did that. By doing that, I feel like it leveled up the haircut to me. That's what took it to the next level and made it kind of showroom-like. Once again, we're using these curved shears. I really suggest you getting some curved shears if you cutting hair on a consistent basis. These curved shears really help you to contour the head and just overall give a lot more flavor to your haircut and make it more consistent and symmetrical in a lot of ways. I'm using that Viking. The Viking to me gives it more of a curl look than just nappy, but it does some people's hair. It does make it look kind of nappy, but to me the product is amazing because it doesn't cake up like grease does. You almost can cut people's hair with that stuff in there and it ain't gonna mess your clippers up. It will over time, but it ain't that bad as actual grease. But anyways, that was kind of, don't do that. Don't just cut with it, but I'm just saying it's not as bad. And as you can see, you know, just by putting in a product in my client's hair, I leveled up. As a barber, if you want to make money, start styling your clients. Take your haircuts to the next level. Stop being basic, you know. If you want to get a $200 haircut one day, start doing in your mind what would be a $200 haircut on as many clients as you can. And that is what's going to make you get those type of clients. You got to know what you're going to do when the money is there. Here's the finished product. This is what we do. The design, you know, it has flavor, flair. You know, you can see that the haircut is well put together. It's well thought out. But it's just a process. And I'm hoping to get you that process, help you develop your barber skills. So please like, share, and subscribe. This is my guy. He's going to be in my chair for a long time. Great kid. Have a blessed day.